Two, one. Wait, did you even do anything? Let's try this again.
Well, we are live on our channel at least.
Well, good, everybody. Welcome to Kingdom of Honor on our channel. This is your host, Sam and Shane Sabuni, along with my good buddy, the Honorable Jeff. And we're here today to talk about some. Actually, it's been kind of a lot of topics this week
Yeah,
for
it's a
us
busy
in pro
week.
wrestling.
Big week in
Yeah.
wrestling. I mean, not as big as, that one we had a few weeks back, but definitely a lot going on. I want to get this out of the way though. We kind of teased it in our last show, but um, Kiera Hogan is upset because she believes that Sasha Banks stole her look.
Which is completely laughable.
It's okay, Sasha Banks, granted, the outfit that she wore on SmackDown has been wearing recently kind of resembles Kiera Hogan's outfit, but she's also worn variations of that outfit since, Jesus, 2014 was when I first saw her. Um, and of course, she's got the blue hair now that she's had for what, almost a year and a half since she returned.
Yeah.
And that's, other than that, the blue hair is the only resemblance to Kiera Hogan at all. And I seem to remember when Kira debuted on Impact as the girl on fire, she had Sasha Banks's red hair.
Well, not Sasha Banks' red hair. She had red. She had like a. Her hair actually like was designed to make it look like her hair was on fire. You know, and that's okay.
Yeah,
And
true.
why is OBS not working for me?
I don't know. It's
It's
working for
weird.
just
It,
one
it's
reason.
like it's weird. I click on start streaming and nothing happens. So I'm gonna close it and try to reopen it.
Oh, well,
So
at least they're listening to us on our channel.
yeah,
So I mean that's good. Someone can hear us.
somewhere out
Oh, and
there.
I've finally gone through and cleaned up our Patreon page, so I want to throw that out there again too. Patreon.com/Kingdom of Honor. It's now cleaned up to date. I'm contemplating lowering tier pricing just a little bit here, but you can get access to all of our archives. You got a couple of free shows up there, and then everything we do on YouTube. And of course, we have and will again soon be doing stuff that is exclusive only to Patreon subscribers. So be sure to check that out whenever you can. It's patreon.com/Kingdom of Honor.
Absolutely appreciate that, Jeff. Um, so yeah, so I mean the thing with Kira Hogan is just bizarre. I mean it's like I can't even think of a good example of it, but
Because
I
there is
guess it,
no example of it. And the only thing I can
yeah.
think of is her hair and a similar looking outfit. But that would be like Denzel Washington calling out Morgan Freeman for stealing his look.
And LULOP listeners, thank you. Welcome to the show. We're just starting in have a few technical issues going on, but we are live and we're talking about this is Kingdom of Honor, and we're live talking about how Kira Hogan has claimed that Sasha Banks stole her look from her.
Which is just ridiculous. It's absolutely
Yeah,
ridiculous.
I did think of what it's like, Jeff. It's like the Big Show claiming that Andre the Giant stole his look.
Yeah, exactly. Or like you said, Denzel, or like I said, Denzel claiming that Morgan Freeman stole his look because now that Denzel's older, he has the gray hair and yeah, everything. Yeah, it's just it's stupid. It's stupid. Um, but that it is what it is. But I just thought it was funny. I thought it was something that popped up on the news. You can tell it's a very slow week in actual news. I mean, we got a busy week with shows coming up, shows that happened, and different storylines. But when that's the lead story on a Wrestle News podcast on a Sunday morning, you know it's not been a good week.
Well, is this like a daily Wrestle News thing, or is it a weekly one? Because I mean, you would think that Jay White returning would be a bigger news than that.
Well, yeah, and I definitely want to get into that too, but what culture? They do a daily news,
Oh,
15,
okay.
20 minutes every day. But yeah, I guess it's the Sunday news. And then there wasn't much else on the news. They talked about some lawsuits like Booker T is suing the Call of Duty franchise and he's got a court date set up because one of the characters from Black Ops 4 looks very much like his GI Bro character that he used back in the 90s. So Booker T is suing for some copyright issues, and then the tattoo artist that did Randy
Does
Orton's
wait
sleeves.
wait 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 does Booker T have copyright of
Yep,
the GI Bro character?
yeah, because he did the GI Bro comics,
Okay.
and he developed the
Wait wait
copyright for
wait
it.
wait wait. There were GI Bro comics,
Dude, it was news to me when I heard it this morning too.
and we're comic guys.
Yeah, and I mean, he did the character in the early 90s before he teamed up with his brother for Harlem Heat, and then he brought it back in the late night in what 2000s with the whole major guns and the GI Bro and all this stuff. But supposedly he's suing Activision, Infinity Ward, and all these game developers because one of the characters from Black Ops 4 looks like his GI Bro character.
Oh my
And
gosh.
they got a court date set up for it. It's set up here in the next few weeks. So yeah, if he can hold the claim, he's gonna because that Call of Duty 4 has sold over $1 billion worth of copies. So he could get a nice little chunk of change if that does go through. And the lady that did the artwork for Randy Orton's sleeves, the arm, the designs and everything for Randy Orton's tattoos, she is suing the WWE and, of course, all the gaming systems and video games that have come out that have Randy Orton's tattoos on there because those were original designs and she did not give them the okay to use it. So she's suing, looking for it. Supposedly, when it debuted back in 2008, whatever video game it was, the WWE offered her $450 to use her artwork.
That's not very much.
Yeah, and she of course turned it down, but now she's got a lawsuit out for that. So, that those were the two big news stories that were going on in wrestling today.
Yeah, that kind of reminds me of I don't know if how much you've listened to can't even think of the name of the show right now, but the one with um fuck
Bubba?
my brain is not with us right now with brother Love like doing his recap of like what happened like
Oh, Bruce
uh,
Pritchard.
Bruce Richard, yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
his show. He talked about one time about Brock Lesnar's tattoo, about how like when Brock debuted he didn't have that tattoo on his back, and then they were making he was big deal, so they were making an action figure for him and stuff, and then he comes out with big black that big not black that big back tattoo, and all of a sudden like his action figure's not going to look like his character anymore,
Right.
and so that like caused a big deal, and he had to explain to Brock that they had to nix the action figures. Now he's costing himself a whole lot of money by doing that, and he has to tell them when he's going to do that kind of stuff. And yeah, that's interesting. Stuff that as a wrestling fan you never would really think of, like
I
you know
I
you
actually,
know
I mean, I enjoy, of course, the Eric Bischoff one because Eric goes off on industry people. He doesn't give a shit. He doesn't try to sugarcoat it. He's not trying to make Vince happy or, any of the industry marks. He just goes off. So I love the Eric Bischoff one and I can't think of the guy's name that does it. Um, but the Bruce Pritchard one has to be my second favorite one because he goes into like booking decisions and backstage things when he starts talking about his whatever story it is that they're talking about that week, and you don't really get that with any of the other guys. What the hell is
yeah
that
there's
guy's name? It's not Simon. It's
yeah there's really great stories on Bruce Pritchard show. I mean and I'm guilty of this too. Like I'll look at the topic like I don't want to fucking listen to that, but then when I actually listen to it I'm like, wow, he tells stories about like things that are just tangential to that,
yeah,
and it so it really makes it to be a great listen.
and it's like stuff that you never would have thought of. Like he goes into the backstage booking decisions and who had this idea that they turned down, and who came up with this idea that they actually went with, and he kind of fantasy books and goes, oh, okay, well, what would have happened if we'd gone that other direct? It's a very interesting show to listen to. I really
It's
enjoy
Conrad
that show.
Conrad
Conrad
Thompson,
Thompson,
right?
yeah, Yep.
Yeah, I was trying to. I kept thinking Connor. Connor. I'm like, wait, no, it's not Connor. It's Conrad, and
Yep.
then I got the Thompson right after that. So
Yeah, he
yeah, so
and
Conrad
I mean
Thompson.
Conrad does a lot of those shows, but I seriously believe that I like Bischoff's one because of the way he just goes after everybody, and then I like Bruce Pritchard's because Bruce Pritchard goes into a lot of the stuff that you never would have thought about when looking at wrestling angles.
I used to actually really like the Tony Schiavone one too, but then they started doing these things where like Tony like does play by play on the shows as they're going. I was like, I'm not gonna sit there and watch a show and then
And then listen to it.
listen to him do talk about the show that he broadcasted like 30 years ago because I mean when I'm listening to a podcast I'm doing other things. I'm not gonna sit there and watch TV while I'm doing it. You
Right.
know.
And the one thing I didn't like about Tony Schiavone, and I only listened to the first couple of episodes, but he was just so out of character from that wholesome guy that you see on TV, and you're like, oh yeah, I love Tony Schiavone, his voice, voice of my childhood, and all this stuff. And then the first episode I listened to him, he just I think he dropped the F bomb 7 times in the first 5 minutes, and I was
Yeah.
like, wait a minute, this is not what I want to. And then, like you said, you get
It's
into
the best comparison for that is Bob Saget.
yeah, it was
Like
such a
like Bob,
shock. It was like, what the? That's not no.
like if you know Bob Saget from Full House, like in Who Doesn't, or from America's Funniest Home Videos, where he's, it's most, it's all clean humor, and he's like this, this perfect dad. And then when you actually like watch his comedy specials, he's dropping f bombs and talking about, sex and all this kind of shit.
I
It's
think
it's crazy.
the biggest shock was his debut in How High. I think that was the name of the movie,
Okay.
where he was in the uh, there was a scene where they were in a Narcotics Anonymous meeting, and the guy was talking about how he's addicted to marijuana, and Bob Saget just jumps on screen. He's like, "Marijuana? That's not a drug. Have you ever sucked a dick for marijuana?" And that was the first experience of Bob Saget not being wholesome, where I was like, "Whoa, what the hell?" And then of course
I've never seen that. That's hilarious though.
you hear his version of the Aristocrats, which is just a horrible, horrible joke. But comedy insiders, other stand-up comedians have all said that Bob Saget's is the most disturbing version of it.
Yeah. Yeah. It's very it's very contrasting to what you would expect from him.
Right. Yeah, but I kind of equate that with Tony Schiavone and his the first time I heard his podcast, it took me a step back, and then I did go and listen to a few of them, and they just weren't as, I don't know. When I'm listening to these podcasts, I saw the stuff on TV. I don't necessarily need to hear the same story that I saw on TV. I want to hear the insider stuff. I want to hear what happened backstage and how they had to, do this and that. And, like when they talked about Eddie Guerrero, and, everything he was going through, I didn't want to hear what we knew. I wanted to hear the stuff we didn't know. And with Tony Schiavone, every time I've listened to his show, I've always felt like, hey, I saw that happen on TV. What made that happen?
Hmm. Interesting. I guess I never felt that way, but I did get to the point where I was like, I'm not going to keep listening to them talk about a show I can't, I'm not watching.
Right.
So
The other thing, and this just sparked my memory. I mentioned it earlier to you this week. Everybody gives WCW and the fact that the NWO started up as the um, tipping point as to why Vince started to go edgier. But I've been, for some reason, and I thought about this. I've seen a lot of the Attitude Era stuff. I've seen all the videos and the DVD, all the pay-per-views and all this stuff. But one thing I've never done is actually sat down and watched their weekly program. During that time, I mean, once Scott Hall debuted, I was a WCW guy. Just WCW. I didn't watch anything else. And back then, unless you unless you were sitting there watching a program and recording Raw, I'm watching Nitro and then recording Raw on another channel, because all we had were VHSs. There was no such thing as DVR. Um, unless you were doing that, you had to choose one or the other to record. So I was busy working on Monday nights and Thursday nights, so I'd record Nitro. And then, of course, I didn't have TV for a while. But I was thinking about it. I've never really gone back and watched all those Attitude Era Raws. and the whole Peacock change that's coming up, the network change, and I'm thinking, okay, I'm gonna go back and I'm gonna start with Stone Cold when Stone Cold became Stone Cold, and
Yeah.
I'm going to watch the Attitude Era and watch Stone Cold's career. And I'm watching this, and I'm sitting here thinking, okay, Stone Cold debuted as Stone Cold with his whipping ass and all this stuff, the more edgier Stone Cold. The week after, um, the week after Scott Hall debuted on Nitro, which means now back then they didn't flip people's characters in less than a week. So obviously this Stone Cold character had been in the works for some time before they finally pulled the trigger. You also had a guy like Goldust, a character. I mean, and Goldust was easily the edgiest character out there, making out with guys. They had a thing with Ahmed Johnson where he gave Ahmed Johnson mouth to mouth resuscitation, and him just being Goldust. That had been going on for months before Scott Hall. That was going on even before Scott Hall left the company. You also had Jerry Lawler out there throwing out sex jokes every 15 seconds and hitting on every woman that came near him. And then, of course, you had Sonny, who was being overly sexualized at the time. So when I'm watching this, I'm sitting back going, there is no way that Vince started becoming edgier because of the NWO. He was becoming edgier long before the NWO even came into existence. So we would have gotten the Attitude Era regardless. It just feels like it was sped up a little bit because of the ratings war in the NWO. But he was already on his way there with some of the characters and decisions they were making.
Yeah, it sure sounds like it from what you're. I mean, and that does make sense to me. That what you're saying. Kind of thinking back on it, I think the big thing was that WCW, because they had already assigned guys like Hogan and Savage and Luger and then they would get Hall and Nash in that time frame you're talking about. They were what everybody was watching,
Right,
and so they were the adult programming for wrestling that everybody like kind of remembers and everybody kind of watched, and then over time, kind of I think that's kind of become the narrative.
right.
But and really the truth is that kind of what you're saying, that they were the Nitro was an edgy program that had the big stars on it, whereas Raw was the edgy program that had the up and coming guys on it.
Yeah. And
And then eventually that the budget and the age of their stars and Turner Network executives interfering with Bischoff's planning and demanding things of him that he couldn't deliver, that didn't make any sense, eventually just led to WWE being able to overtake WCW. I mean really the fact that um, I guess my point here uh, is I'm trying to figure out how to say this, that there was no way that WCW was ever going to beat WWE,
not long
because
term.
because it just wasn't something that the people that were running TNT after AOL took over were even interested in funding, or even interested in having wrestling on their network at all anymore.
Yeah.
It just wasn't going to happen. I mean, there was a time it possibly could have happened where WWE would have gone out of business, and if that had happened, and then WCW probably would have shut down anyway, and we just wouldn't have had a national wrestling promotion at that point.
Right.
You
And
know,
but I just, when you look at it and you listen to all these documentaries and you listen to people talk about it and they're all like, well, because of what was going on in WCW, that's what sparked and when they say that, they reference literally the NWO. But when I'm watching this and looking back, he was well on his, I mean, those cartoonish characters that really dominated 95 and 94. I've watched maybe a dozen Raws. I think I'm all the way through August right now and their pay-per-views. There were only two cartoon characters really that were on there. Sparkplug Bob Holly was in one match, and Duke the Dumpster Drozer was in one match. Otherwise, there wasn't any of those cartoon type characters that WWE got, or WWF at the time was nagged on about. I mean, they when I'm watching this stuff, I'm looking at this going, holy crap, I didn't realize that they were doing angles like this. I mean, Jesus Christ, before Scott Hall even left, Shawn Michaels was in a feud with Davey Boy Smith because Davey Boy Smith was accusing him of trying to steal his wife. I mean, these were not the typical WWF stories and things that we hear about now looking back. That's more of an Attitude Era story. And this was happening a year before the Attitude Era even started.
Yeah, the crazy thing is that even if you watch the WWE produced stuff on this topic, like the Monday Night Wars, especially that was like the big documentary where the network first started. It tells that same narrative everybody else tells, you know. So it's really weird.
Yeah, it's just my argument going back and watching. I would
Yeah.
argue to say that we would have had the Attitude Era regardless of if WW or WCW was even around. It just felt like watching these or mid '96 video or Raws that they were leaning towards that type of product anyway.
Which makes sense because if you think about it, they kept up with that kind of stuff even after WCW was gone.
Right, exactly. Yeah, for another what year and a half, I believe, 2 years almost. I mean, they like to
Um,
say WrestleMania 17 was the end, and that was in 2002. But it was
no,
good.
I would say it was after WrestleMania 19.
Yeah.
If I'm
So yeah, a couple of years after WCW was bought. So like
Yeah,
2003, 4-ish in that area. I mean, they supposedly WrestleMania 17 was the end of the Attitude Era, but it wasn't because they kept up that type of storytelling even further. But
right.
regardless, that was just something that I noticed this week, and I wanted to, and I mentioned to you, but it just feels that way when you're watching these older shows that they were headed that way whether WCW existed or not.
Well, um, yeah, you're probably. I mean, you're. I think you're dead right about that. It was just a different time in the country. Is all it was,
Right,
or in the
exactly.
world.
Exactly.
Um, so the Royal Rumble happened,
Yes, it did.
and you and I were planning on doing a live broadcast. Shit happened. We're not able to do it, but really there was very little redeeming about that show to me.
I let's start it off. Second straight pay-per-view in a row that um, Drew McIntyre was the curtain jerker. Um, he started Money in the Bank with AJ Styles, which, to be honest, I wanted to talk about it. I went back before Royal Rumble and I watched that AJ Styles um, Drew McIntyre TLC match. What a fantastic match that was. Just unbelievable. That was a good heavyweight title match. This one with Goldberg, it became what we've been saying, finisher, kick out, punch, kick, finisher, kick out. And that's all it was. What, 15 minutes? Surprisingly, Goldberg lasted that long in a match. And then, I, we kind of talked about this last week. If the only reason Goldberg is a legend is because WCW caught a rookie with lightning in a bottle and pushed him to the stars. But after he lost his undefeated streak, he was never the same again.
That's very true. And the other thing is that because they pushed him to the stars that quickly, he never, learned humility. He never learned to actually work in the ring.
Yeah.
He never learned how to actually be a wrestler. And that's why he flamed out so quickly in 2003 when he came in.
The one
Um,
the one time he was actually being pushed to work as a wrestler, they ended up firing the guy that was pushing him to become a wrestler. And that was when he wrestled William Regal
okay.
or Steven Regal at the time.
Yeah, I don't and he was also like just completely arrogant about the whole Jericho thing too,
Hmm.
you know. I mean, yeah, I just, I think Goldberg was a phenomenon that should have stayed in that like 1 year, 18-month period, whatever it was, and then that should have just been kind of it for him. as far as being I mean, I'm not saying that they were wrong to like keep him as a wrestler and try to work that out, but I just think that that he really never should have been brought back, especially like not in 2016 or whatever it was, and then over and over again, because he just isn't good at all.
No.
So
Well, and the fact that when he
and
did come back in 2016, he won the title from you know I can't think of the guy's name, Kevin Owens, and then a week later lost it to Brock Lesnar, which was fine and all. Give the nostalgia act his due. He never held the title, whatever, blah blah. Just I mean, they've shown us
and let's also be fair about it. That Lesnar versus Goldberg match is the greatest 4 minute match you're ever going to see.
right, exactly. But then he comes out on Raw the next week and he thanks everybody and now he can finally be done and all he wanted to do was show his small child what it was like for him when at his prime, and he gave everybody credit for doing it, and he was going to walk away. And it was less than 6 months later when he came back again, and then to win two more titles after that, it's just that's not, I mean, if that had happened with Bret Hart, provided Bret Hart could still wrestle, I would have been more okay with it just because he was a true legend. For them to throw the belt on Goldberg as many times as they have, it just they're completely clueless as to what they're doing. They just want to throw these nostalgia acts and think that they're going to work.
Yeah, and I mean, and and I guess it's nice that they fed Drew somebody, a legend like that to beat. But at the same time, if and you mentioned the AJ match, which I have not seen yet, but basically all I've seen all that I have seen of Drew's time at the top is against Reigns, against Lesnar, and against Goldberg, which are pretty much all basically the same type of match, where it's the Reigns match was different because it was like there was actually like punches and kicks involved as well, but I mean otherwise it's you know finishing move or signature move, and that's it. And that just is not, that to me is not pro wrestling. It's not
No,
storytelling at all whatsoever.
it's not. There's been no stories in his matches. The AJ match was really well done. His some of his Randy Orton matches I've heard were really well done. I haven't actually seen them,
Well, you
but
know how I feel about Orton, so
yeah, I mean, I mean, Orton to me around the time when I got back into wrestling, that late 2000s, AJ and Orton were, my two standouts, so they'll always hold a little soft spot in my heart. But
yeah,
anyway,
I know.
and then it was the
Speaking
fact that
was well, speaking of Orton, oh God, I could see. Did you not see the end of the Royal Rumble coming a mile away?
yeah, it was the second he got injured, I was like, yeah, he'll be back.
Yeah,
Um, and I get it. It's he's in a weird spot right now because he's feuding with Bray Wyatt. And Bray Wyatt is, well, a heel. So he's feuding with Bray Wyatt, and he's kind of the face in that whole situation. But then his thing with Edge is him being just this horrible human being. And to be honest, I loved his that first until he got quote unquote injured. That was amazing. Everything between him and Edge was just flat out amazing. I loved every bit of it. Then the Royal Rumble kind of took a turn, and it followed the same formula that was followed in the women's match, which I felt like ruined the women's match for me. It was trot out a legend, they show up for a little bit, then they get knocked out. Trot out a friend of somebody who's already a friend of somebody in the ring, and they're gonna have this nice little moment in the middle of the ring where they're like, "Oh yeah, we're awesome, we love each other," and then 30 seconds later, that person's gonna turn on the other one and throw them out. And it was that happened so many times in both Royal Rumbles that I actually got annoyed with it.
yeah,
At least let them work together for a little bit. The only team that actually worked together, I mean, uh, Jillian Hall and Billy Kay worked together for a little bit before that broke down. But Edge and Christian were the only ones that actually worked together. Other than that,
Right.
every other tag team just like they just well, I guess New Day didn't either, but everyone else that had any kind of past relationship just turned on each other right away. Oh, it's every man for himself. It's like, yeah, okay, I heard that the first 18 times you pulled this little stunt. It was just dumb.
Yeah. I really I don't know. I mean, there's a lot of things I didn't like about the event, but I just kind of sat there going, "Come on, give me something decent." And we I thought we were going to get that out of Reigns versus Owens, but in 10 minutes into that, it turned into a train wreck.
Yeah, I mean, I get it. Okay, yeah, you borrow spots from other companies that work, but when you have such a publicized spot as the golf cart spot, maybe we could have done it a different way and we didn't have to have a golf cart.
And when Owens saw the forklift there,
Right. That too.
and he looked at that and went like, "Okay, I'll raise it all the way to the top and jump off of there with a senton instead of just raising it up and lowering it on top of Reigns so that Reigns couldn't get up." That was just complete stupidity to me.
Especially when you look at the fact that that forklift didn't raise any higher than the ladder would have. The ladder that he was originally going to set up. And then,
No. I mean, my whole point is, you're trying to win the match. It's a last man standing match. If you put the forklift on top, if you put the forklift with the pallet on top of him, he cannot stand up.
I feel like
So
we've seen that before, though. I mean, not
no,
it
no,
would have
we no
worked.
we no we saw Mick Foley pin The Rock with a forklift at like that Super Bowl halftime heat
Yeah,
like back in
that's what it was.
2001 or something like that. But we've never seen like the forklift hold somebody down in a last man standing match. We have seen handcuffs do that, which they tried to do in this match as well.
And
But
botched
and then
horribly,
yeah, and like the referee counts to six.
and then just
Sorry, the
stops.
replacement referee counts to six, and just like, oh yeah, I guess I can't keep counting. Whereas what we've seen and what we've heard of the last 5 years or so from is that Vince McMahon's been really adamant about like referees have to kayfabe everything. Not in this spot apparently.
Well, it was like, what would the harm have been in calling an audible, finishing the count, putting the belt on Owens, and then Owens loses the belt either at Payback, which is coming up, or Elimination Chamber, whatever that's coming up in 2 weeks, or even the next night on SmackDown, the next week on SmackDown.
Yeah, exactly. There
They
would have
would
been
have
no harm at all
they would
whatsoever.
have they would have completely. First of all, nobody'd be sitting here bitching about that match because outside of those two little spots where that kind of turned me off, the match was really well done.
Yep.
Um, those there were those two spots like the forklift spot and the golf cart spot where I was like, ugh. For me personally, they were downs, but for other people, those might have been highlights. That's perfectly fine. But the botched finish, there is no reason why they shouldn't have pulled an audible, just thrown the belt on Owens. They would have gotten a huge pop. That rating would have gotten huge rating,
Hmm.
or that match would have got huge ratings. They would have gotten big time ratings on SmackDown for their rematch.
Yeah.
They could have done so much with that. And it's just that one where he's just like, oh, and no apparent reason. Like maybe Paul Heyman could have thrown an audible too, and when he couldn't get the handcuffs, just got up and punched the referee.
Yep. That would
There are
work too.
so many things they could have done differently, but they just, oh, let's just stop counting because he can't get the handcuffs off. So we're gonna throw a timeout in the middle of a last man standing match.
Yeah, that was absolutely stupid. Absolutely stupid. And the other thing is that, they could have just kept the count going and had it be a draw because we couldn't see what Owens was doing.
Right,
Owens might have
exactly.
been down too for all we knew.
Yeah, I mean Owens didn't need to get back up, but the reason why,
So there we go. There's four different things they could have done differently in that spot rather than just have the referee just stop counting at six.
or if Owens had gotten up, if he would have, he could have even have gotten up and saw what was going on and fell to the mat. I mean, I'm not blaming Owens at all, but he could have fell back down. They could have resumed the count.
Right.
there's a lot of different things they could have done. Now, you can't really blame the wrestlers because they don't have earpieces in. You can't really blame Paul Heyman because he didn't have an earpiece in. But they should have just, I mean, could you imagine the look on Roman Reigns' face if you know, if he had lost that, even though he wasn't supposed to? Just his surprise reaction would have been
Yep.
worth it. And then he could have gone a whole storyline of blaming Paul Heyman and Paul Heyman trying to make it up to him, because Heyman couldn't get the cuffs off in time. They could have gone so many ways, so many ways.
Yeah, and logically, if you think logically, it's back to what I said about we couldn't see if Owens was up or not. Within the storyline of that match, if he was up, why wouldn't he be attacking him and stopping him from taking the handcuffs off?
Exactly. Yeah,
You
there's
know,
that too. There's
so we
so much logic.
yes, yeah, so he had to have been down. So I mean, yeah, that was just terrible. And you know what? And as excited as I was a year ago when Edge returned to the Rumble, and I was, you were there with me. We were
Oh yeah.
both
Yep.
excited. You know, um, and as much as I enjoyed that performance and his performance against Orton at WrestleMania, I still look at this and go, really, they're going to have a 47-year-old guy win the Royal Rumble. Not
They
only that, but win the Royal Rumble for the number one position. Not only that, but he had 3 matches last year and was injured for 7 months.
remember
So I mean,
they had an older
so
guy than him a few years ago win it and win the title at the same time. I
that's true. But the bottom line here is that Edge was out of action for 9 years.
mhm.
He wrestled 3 matches, was out of action for 7 months, and now he's going to be the guy trusted to be in the main event of WrestleMania.
Well, keep in mind it's probably not going to be the main event. And this is one thing that I
Okay,
really
a high profile world title match at WrestleMania. Is that better?
That's better. But it kind of dawned on me because remember last year they pulled that with the women and then Brock Lesnar had to come out first and blah, whatever. This year I did notice one thing. During the women's main event, they kept saying, or during the women's Rumble, they kept saying this is the main event WrestleMania. During the men's Royal Rumble, they kept saying this is the headline main WrestleMania. They didn't say main event. They said it's gonna to headline. Uh,
Okay.
so it's I have a feeling that they're going to throw the women on last again as the main event, and then the men will just be. But regardless, I mean, when you look at the storyline with Edge, yeah, I wish they would have used this to push somebody forward like they did with Drew McIntyre last year. But at the same time, looking at everything going on, there's nobody in that match that really deserved to win the Royal Rumble with the way their stories are working out. And Edge, at least this is a redemption thing for him where he never really lost the belt. He had to forfeit it because his neck was injured. So he never, and he's using this as a way I'm going to go get my belt back that I never lost.
You can make all the excuses for him that you want to,
No, I'm
but
right there with you. I think I have always felt like the Royal Rumble should be a launching pad for somebody new, and you could have done it with a million different people. Like, instead of maybe having Hurricane in there, they could have brought in Keith Lee. They could have pushed Cesaro. They could have pushed, maybe even AJ in that spot would have been a good because that gives AJ something he's never had, which is main eventing WrestleMania.
right.
That's a good. I mean, let's be honest. Since 2016, when AJ's been with the company, he's been the highlight of the company. Him and Kevin Owens. It,
Yeah, I mean, I mean, maybe you're onto something with the way the storylines are working out, but and and when they and I knew that uh, Daniel Bryan wasn't going to win the damn thing,
no,
but I mean, it's not. That's the fault of the company if they set it up so that nobody in the match feels like they should win the thing.
and that
You
yeah,
know that
that's absolutely. But a lot of that's because they run the nostalgia acts all the time to crush the little guys
right,
or the people that should be pushed as upcoming stars.
right, right, and you know, you know, I guess Braun would be one guy you could possibly see that would win the Rumble. You know, 'cause first of all, he's number 30.
Right.
Secondly, he's huge. Thirdly, he was in the main event last year and won the title at the main event in the main event of it was the actual main event last year, right? Where he won the championship, if I'm
I
not mistaken.
yeah, it was. Yeah. No,
Yeah.
no,
So
Drew. Well, he was in the main event tonight one, and then Drew was in the main event tonight two.
okay, I couldn't remember which was which. Okay, so there you go. So who did Braun face last year?
He took on Goldberg
It was Goldberg. That's
Because
right. Okay.
Roman Reigns backed out because of the whole COVID stuff and the fact that he just came back from cancer. So he backed out of the WrestleMania spot, and they threw Braun in there, and Braun won the title.
Yeah. And you know the other thing is that I think there was only one NXT superstar in the Rumble this year, and that was Damian Priest, which I also found odd because I mean they've been pushing, you know, I think for like the last 2 years before that Adam Cole had been in, and you know they've been really pushing Kyle O'Reilly this year, so you would think he would have been in there. You also would have thought that they would have put Karrion Kross in there as well, you know, and they did not go that direction, or maybe even um, I don't know, something like Tommaso Ciampa, for instance. You know, it was
Right,
kind of a weird. It was kind of weird because I mean they've really had, you know, usually like between 3 and 4 um, stars in or you know between 3 and 4 NXT guys in there the last few years, and this year was just the one guy.
well, and especially since they're pushing the NXT titles as one that the Rumble winners can challenge for.
Correct.
You
And
know,
I think only one woman too, right? Wasn't Tony
no,
Storm
there
the only
were
one in NXT?
no Shotzi Blackheart was, and
Oh, that's right. Shotzi was. That's right.
there were a few. There wasn't
And
only just the one.
Dakota Kai was
Dakota
too, I think.
Kai was,
That's
and
right.
I thought there was somebody else too, but
Okay.
um, yeah, they at least had a few. But I mean, when you look at the
Oh yeah, there
men's,
was there, but I the hell's her
s-
name? Rhea Ripley was there too.
no, but there was one other one too, and they were all gaga about her, and I can't remember Sasha, and it wasn't Sasha. It was God. What the hell was her name? There was another one that they were all excited about to see.
Okay, I'm not sure.
La Garrett, I think was her last name or something like that. I don't remember. Anyway, doesn't matter.
Yeah, but Garrett isn't in NXT. I don't think I've seen her in NXT at
I
least.
think I, but she wasn't a main roster person.
Okay, maybe she's been injured for a while. I think it's why they were excited about her, wasn't it? Santana Garrett or something like that.
Santana Garrett, yeah.
Okay.
I thought they announced her as an NXT person. But you're right,
Yeah.
they only had the one NXT person in from on the men's side. And part of that's because Damian Priest had just been called up to the main roster anyway. He was leaving NXT after his loss to Karrion Kross. But yeah, nobody else unless they're selling the fact that Kyle O'Reilly was injured.
Oh, you're right. Santana Garrett is NXT, but I haven't seen her on NXT in, you know, since I've been watching it again. But
Yeah,
there yeah, you're right. There was actually six. There was Shotzi, Tony Storm, Santana Garrett, Rhea Ripley, Dakota Kai, who we all mentioned, and then also Ember Moon was in there as well.
she's a main roster person.
No, Ember Moon came back to NXT like a year ago.
They moved her back to NXT because I know she was a main roster call up a while back.
Yeah, I did. I just didn't remember her being in the match. That's all.
Yeah, it was brief. But yeah, and then the other matches on this card were just nothing to even talk about. Um,
Yeah. Well, I mean, I can talk about Carmella all day long if you want me to.
yeah, what the hell happened to her? I, when she came out with that silhouette and everything, I'm like, who the hell is this? And then it turns out to be Carmella. I'm like, that's not Carmella, unless she had a whole new body transplant.
It kind of looks like it, but she was fine, man. I did enjoy that for sure.
Yeah, yeah, definitely enjoyed that. Um, AEW, I don't know if you have anything else about the Rumble, but
No,
it wasn't as exciting as not only did I have we experienced in the past or that I hoped. I was really hoping to have it be the Royal Rumble that made me excited again, But then again, it is WWE, and I haven't been overly excited about them in probably 5 years.
Yeah, but we really did enjoy both Rumbles last year.
Yeah,
So
yeah, and this year was I, they really relied way too much on that. Oh, hey, you're my buddy. No, it's not. It's every man for himself. They relied on that way too much in both matches. It seemed like every other person that came out had a friend in there they were going to team with, but then that friend turned on them and threw them out and screamed, "It's every man for himself." It just that
yeah.
happened way too much.
Well, do you remember a few years ago? Maybe it's 5 years ago now. I can't even. I'm not even sure. But remember when Randy Orton won the Rumble and everybody was like, "Yeah, at least it wasn't Reigns."
Right.
Well, this year I feel like it was the same way in both these ones. Like, it was Bianca, but at least it wasn't Charlotte,
Yeah, and then
and
that it's
it was Edge, but at least it wasn't Orton.
yeah, and I knew it
And that,
wasn't going to
that
be.
and that's really like, like that's really sad when they have to have, like, when you feel like at least it wasn't this person instead of being excited for it to be somebody.
Well, the funny thing is they kind of when Orton went to the back and the way that he was selling his injury, you knew it was a kayfabe injury.
Yeah.
But the way that he was selling it, you just knew he was going to come back, and who else in the match made any sense for him to make that surprise return at the end other than Edge?
Yeah.
They literally telegraphed it at the beginning, and I remember saying when he was in the back with the ice on his knee, oh, they had to cut the knee pad off. Really? What reason did they have to cut the knee pad off? They couldn't just slide it down. There's no injury on the planet where they would have had to cut the knee pad off. Um, and when I saw that, I was like, all right, Edge is gonna win this. And then I kind of, got some hope that he wasn't going to be with with when AJ came out and other people came out. But that was the moment where I just looked at it and went, yeah, Edge is winning.
Yeah. I really detest that. I'm not gonna sugarcoat it. I do. I mean, I almost would rather Christian had won it than Edge.
And I was, and Christian's cleared to come back now, a part-time gig, but he's been cleared now to be a WWE wrestler again, and I like that because I like it with Edge too. I mean, these are two great guys who deserve to go out on their own terms.
Yeah.
So having both of them back, even if it's in a part-time, and they've both proven, well, I guess Christian hasn't, but I mean Christian worked really well in that Rumble. And Edge has proven that he can still wrestle. So it's not like you're running Goldberg out there, who was never a decent wrestler.
Well, Christian is back, part time, and he's going to be at the Rumble. I mean, at WrestleMania. I guess I would like to see him either against Seth Rollins or AJ Styles.
Yeah, I would like to see both those.
Yeah. So,
But that's all I got on
oh,
Marvel. So,
oh, Jeff, we totally forgot. We totally forgot about the best part about the men's Royal Rumble this year, though.
and that was,
That was the amazing aerial performance of Bad Bunny.
oh dear God. See, those are the kind of things that anger me about. But I can't say it's WWE only because with AEW trotting Snoop Dogg out there to do a splash, and now Shaq in an actual wrestling match. It's
Yeah.
unless an actor can wrestle or someone popular can wrestle like Stephen Amell, don't have them, or Pat McAfee is another one. Don't have them in the pay-per-views. It just doesn't make
And here's the other thing about that is, and I know I'm going to come across as being very, I don't know, something, but if you're going to have a musical act at an American wrestling show, have them actually be speaking English
And
when
don't
they're
have
doing the
Booker
show.
T just standing in the back the whole time with his arms crossed just so he can scream, "Can you dig it, sucker?" at the very end of it.
No, that I don't care about that. I'm saying I do not need to see a Latin sung performance on
I,
an American broadcast.
I look, if you're a wrestling promoter, now I get it. Okay, back in like 1988, having Bob Uecker on the show and stuff like that kind of gave it a little mainstream feel, but I can guarantee you that fans of Bob Uecker didn't shell out $30 to watch WrestleMania. You got your wrestling fans that shelled out. And it's the same thing with right now with Bad Bunny. I can guarantee you, not one Bad Bunny fan, and he's like the most popular, or he's the number one act in the world right now. I
He
can,
is?
yeah,
How?
I don't know. I have no clue, but I can guarantee you not one Bad Bunny fan said, Bad Bunny's going to be on the Royal Rumble. I'm going to pay $40 to watch that, or I'm going to subscribe to WWE Network just to watch that. That doesn't happen. It never happens. They'll just pull it up on YouTube tomorrow and watch the performance. They're not going
Yeah.
to shell out money to watch a wrestling event just because they heard some pop star is going to be on there. It's the same thing with AEW. I can guarantee not one basketball fan, not one TNT fan is going to pay for AEW's pay-per-view just because Shaq is on there. The people that are going to watch it are going to be the wrestling fans, and then they get, you know, subjugated, whatever, to that performance by Shaq.
In fact, I'm going to actively not buy it because Shaq is on there.
I'm not going to buy it because I feel like AEW puts on a pay-per-view quality show every other
You
week.
haven't bought any of them though.
That's
So
true.
I
That is
I
true.
I am I am flat out stating that I'm not buying Revolution this year, even if Shaq isn't on there because they're doing this bullshit with him. I am not going to pay for it because we and this is a nice segue into Dynamite actually, where you and I have talked about this before, but they're fucking not changing the world.
No.
They're not. I mean, this is the equivalent of 2008 when, um, I think it was 2008 when they had Floyd Mayweather come in to face off against the Big Show at WrestleMania.
Right.
Same kind of damn thing, where you got a basketball player coming in, even if it's only that one tag team match on Dynamite, which I don't think it will be. I think it will have a singles match on Revolution as well. But you're having a wrestler come, face off against a basketball player.
Right.
And not only a basketball player, but a basketball player has been retired for 20, maybe not, probably not 20 years, but for quite a while
And a
now.
basketball player that's already had his wrestling moment when he was in the WWE back in '94 or whatever at one of the WrestleManias.
Yeah, it's not needed. It not only is it not needed, but it disgusts me as a wrestling fan that they,
And
that they do this kind of stuff.
you know, I will say this though, that if AEW can keep on the trajectory that they're doing with the involvement of other companies, then I could finally say that they're changing the world because they are a mainstream, top-notch American wrestling promotion, not a third rung or fourth rung like TNA was when they signed up with NJPW, not like Ring of Honor when they had their NJPW agreement. But this is a wrestling company that now has agreements with AAA or Triple A, whatever. I mean, their heavyweight champion is on Impact every week. Granted, they don't mention it, but he is on there. Uh, and then also their collusion with Impact, and now if they get New Japan in the fold, that's the kind of thing that will truly change the world. Not their wrestling matches, not pulling out the same American storytelling like they've been doing for the last 2 years. Getting the other promotions involved is what's going to truly change wrestling.
That's a fair point, but I really don't think it's true change unless they're actually going to rely on the wrestlers to sell the wrestling shows and not a washed up basketball player or a washed up boxer
Yeah.
like they did with Tyson earlier this year,
I
or
mean,
I should say earlier last year.
unless those people are paying AEW for that. Like, unless Mike Tyson paid AEW to get on his performance on there as a way of advertising his fight coming up. Otherwise, there's no reason for it. Especially when you don't get a payoff. What was the big deal? I mean, okay, he came out, confronted Cody, and nothing ever came of it.
Well, he confronted um, Jericho.
Oh yeah, it was Jericho. Yeah, you're right. And then nothing ever came of it. They mentioned it for like 2 weeks later, and then it just went away.
Yep,
You know,
exactly.
Snoop Dogg's appearance was great. I mean, he could have came out, done some color commentary. That would have been great. Getting him involved in a match never should have happened. And Shaq
No,
being in the ring never should happen.
absolutely, positively not. Um,
Kenta, though, Kenta.
yeah, yeah, that was cool. and that's not part of what you're talking about. Is they brought it now they got some kind of agreement with NJPW because Kenta comes in there. Not only does Kenta come in there, but he comes in there shortly after we get the Jay White return, talking about real Bullet Club versus wannabe Bullet Club.
Did you watch that promo after I told
I
you?
did. I watched it this morning.
Yeah,
Yeah.
just amazing. That's the Jay White I like. But him coming back like that and talking about there's only one real Bullet Club and I'm the real Jay White, and I'm just like, fuck yeah, dude. I'm pumped now. I want to see Bullet Club versus Bullet Club now.
Yeah. I wonder what I wonder if we are going to actually see that. I mean, Kenta's showing up there is a nice first step towards that.
Well, in the IGPW US title being portrayed on AEW stuff. I mean, it's going to be on the show next week. It's in all the promotional stuff for next week's show. And
Oh, I didn't
Kenta
know that.
and
Okay.
Kenta is going to be teaming with Omega to take on Mox and Archer.
Wow, that's amazing.
So it looks like they got something at least working. And that leads me to and the rest of the show was it was what it was. The tag team battle royal was okay. Um, I'm really annoyed because this is now the second time I feel like they have really rushed a Jericho MJF storyline and not let it breathe.
How do you feel like this has been rushed? It's been going on for months.
Not them becoming number one contenders and facing the Bucks at a pay-per-view. They literally just became the tag team of the Inner Circle 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, but now they're going to get the title shot at Revolution, so it's like that's still like 3 weeks away.
But still, I said it when they first announced they were the tag team that they needed to build up to that point, not just become the next team to face them. And what about
I could not live with that, Jeff. I could not keep watching that show
only
if that
because
if that were happening because there's way too much damn drama going on between
only
the.
because the Inner Circle thing has been going on way too long. And that leads me to another point. Where the fuck is SCU? They just declared that it's the next tag match that they lose, they're going to break up as a team forever, and they threw out the challenge to the Bucks, and they haven't been on the show since. Is that how they're going to stay a tag team? Is they'll just never wrestle again?
I completely forgot about that.
I thought that was going to be the big payoff to Revolution. The Revolution tag team title was going to be SCU versus the Bucks, and they declared that little statement and they challenged the Bucks, and then they have not been on the show since.
Maybe they lost to the Bucks on Dark.
It's, it's
But it's kind of funny because I completely forgot about that. So maybe when they say that wrestling fans don't have a good memory, they're not
they're
far
not
wrong on.
totally wrong.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, the whole we need to have a talk closed door thing after Jericho runs off with Sammy. Yeah, I have a feeling that's going to come to a head here, probably at Revolution, where everybody turns on Jericho. I'm going to be, a couple people I've heard this a few times where it's Jericho and MJ, or not Jericho, Sammy and MJF are kind of in cahoots to do this, to break up and get rid of Jericho.
Could be.
Um, but I think after the way that you've seen Jericho kind of go in and calm down and talk to the other people, and now this having a closed door meeting and all that stuff without Jericho present, just leads me to believe that yeah, he's gonna usurp Jericho as the leader of Inner Circle.
Yeah, which I'm actually kind of happy about because I still even after a year and a half get so irritated with the fans singing along with Judas when Jericho's coming out and he's supposed to be a heel.
Yeah, when he's carrying a bat out there like Negan and everybody's cheering him.
Yeah, it's so dumb. Um, I was thinking, that I think that not that it's a good thing necessarily, but the wedding that we saw at Beach Break is the first time we've seen a wrestling wedding in a long time that actually went down and there was actual vows exchanged and
I
everything.
love the fact that when James Mitchell was like, if anybody, Miro cuts him off. No, I've done this twice before. We're not doing that question.
Yeah,
That was great.
Yeah,
And of
I
course, he was referencing the two Lana weddings that he had in
right.
WWE.
Yeah, I know. And then also Mitchell said unholy matrimony,
Yep.
and he also was like kayfabing all.
What was the yeah, that one too. And what was the like Excalibur, like Shivani said something sinister is happening, and then Excalibur goes, "Yeah, the minister's in the ring." And JR's just sick of it. He goes, "Yeah, guys, we get it." I thought that was pretty funny too. The
Yeah,
sinister minister James Mitchell and Tony Schiavone's line of how he's so happy that James Mitchell did his eyebrows for the wedding. I thought was
yeah,
pretty funny too.
yeah. That was good.
But yeah, I actually kind of enjoyed that little bit, and I hate wrestling weddings with a passion. But the way they kind of, the way Miro did his whole, the stuff that he was doing with the what is love, and cutting Mitchell off from asking that question, I thought was great. I'm a little confused with the Charles Chuck segment. Is he no longer the butler? Because wasn't he under some kind of like contractual thing to be the butler for a couple months?
Well, that's the thing I was confused about because I thought he was only supposed to be the butler up until Beach Break. So if he was
Oh,
supposed to be only be up until Beach Break, then why did he have to be at the wedding? Because that would be through Beach Break. So I don't know. I don't think that he's part of the. I think his butlerhood is over
is
now.
well, yeah. I mean, and that would make sense. I thought for some reason I thought he was supposed to be the butler through Revolution.
Ah,
Um, but now that makes sense if it was Beach Break was supposed to be the ending.
yeah. So I wonder if we're gonna have a. I wonder if Revolution we're going to have a tag match between Miro and Kip Sabian um,
Chuck and OJ
versus Charles and OJ, or if it's going to be like two
or
singles matches.
OC.
Because if it's another tag match, I mean that's already three tag matches then on the show.
Yeah, but if two singles matches, I mean, I don't know if it might be a payoff with Orange Cassidy and Miro. That might be the
Yeah,
payoff. I mean,
that's possible too.
Kip
Yeah.
Sabian really hasn't been a wrestler in like the last year. He's had a few matches, but the amount of matches, unless he's doing all of his work on Dark, but his stuff on Dynamite, I think he's only had like three matches in the last
Yeah,
year. It's all
that's
been him either being going to the ring with Penelope and Miro or just some backstage segment.
By the way, what the fuck did I miss where Joey Janela was getting a shot at the TNT Championship?
You missed TNT or you missed AEW booking where they just give random shots to people.
Okay.
You know how it is. They don't actually have a number one contender, even though they have a number one person in the ranking, because they have to have their little mini tournaments or their, um, battle royals to determine it.
Yeah, I'm just wondering how is Joey Janela has he even won a match?
Probably on Dark.
Okay.
Um,
Yeah.
Couple of things though that I did think about after, of course, fantasy booking again. I kind of did it when Impact was started working with AEW, but now with NJPW. Could you imagine a match between Darby Allin and Minoru Suzuki?
Um,
How
I'm not
sick
sure.
would that be?
I'm not sure that Darby Allin would survive a match with Minoru Suzuki.
Yeah, but Darby Allin's whole, I mean, first of all, just getting in the ring with him would be a star-making appearance. But then the way that Darby takes the punishment and everything, that would be just an amazing match to watch. I also wouldn't mind seeing, Bullet Club versus Bullet Club and have God versus the Good Brothers to claim who really should be able to use the Magic Killer as a finisher.
Yeah, that wouldn't be bad either. I mean, I guess if we're gonna do that, if they're gonna do that, I would like to be like kind of a global wars style themed event where every match on the card is NJPW um, versus AEW.
Oh, Jay White now versus Kenny. Oh, that alone.
Well, now you're talking about Bullet Club versus Bullet Club. I'm talking about entire organization versus
Yeah, yeah,
entire
yeah.
organization.
Well, I mean, like, yeah, I know what you mean. And like Darby versus Minoru, that's not a. Another person I'd like to see is Osprey versus Pac.
That'd be great. I was actually thinking Jay White more against Cody.
Yeah, I'm sick of Cody. I get it. They're both, two of the best storytellers, uh, the best heel in the business against the wannabe babyface. I could see them putting on a great match. But just from
Yeah,
an in-ring product alone, I would love to see Kenny and Jay go at it now with
gotcha.
Jay being where he's at. I mean, remember when they first faced or the only time they faced each other was when Kenny was on his rise to be IWGP title holder, and Jay had only been in the company 3 months.
Yeah, that's true. Um, what you had mentioned the Good Brothers versus God, right? And now I was thinking like, would I rather see FTR or the Bucks take on um, Dangerous Tekkers?
I'd
And I
rather
kind
see,
of think it's and I think it's kind of and I kind of think it's FTR.
I I'd rather see FTR take on somebody that contrasts their style a little bit more. I mean, the
Such
Bucks,
as
but I don't. That's just it. Who the hell are tag teams in NJPW? I only know of two.
right. I mean, I guess unless you're talking about like Ishii and Yano versus FTR.
Right. I mean, other I don't. The only two tag teams I know about in NJPW are the Dangerous Tekkers and God. I mean,
Right.
unless they go Roppongi 2K, but I wouldn't mind seeing them against the Bucks now either. I mean, last time we saw that was when we decided that Nick Jackson actually really knew how to sell, or Matt Jackson. I mean, a few years ago.
Well, and wasn't that also when it was still Roppongi 2, 2, 3 when it was still Roppongi Vice? Or
No,
am I
no, no. That
wrong?
was Yoan Show. That
Was it your own
was,
show? Okay.
yeah, they won that match at Wrestle Kingdom, but that was the match where Matt broke or hurt his back and then literally sold that injury for an entire year.
Right, I remember that, but I thought that I really thought that Trent was in that match.
No, that was Yoan Show. That was one of their first appearances.
Okay, fair enough. Um, yeah, I don't know. I mean, I guess that might happen at some point, but um, anything else on Beach Break?
No, no, that was pretty much all I had.
Okay, so let's talk then about
Holy
the New
crap, it's
Beginning.
11:30 already.
It is.
All right,
So let's talk about the New Beginning Hiroshima shows coming up.
all right.
So so we got two shows coming up, one on the 10th, one on the 11th. So we're gonna have a busy week of watching wrestling this week. Actually, before we get into this, let's also talk about there's another event coming up on Valentine's Day, which is NXT Takeover Vengeance.
If they don't
And I
call it Valentine's Massacre, they're missing out.
it's no, it's called Vengeance Day.
Ugh.
Um, yeah, when I heard they were bringing back a pay per view name, I was like, please tell me it's Valentine's Day Massacre, but no, it's Vengeance Day. Um, but there's a couple of things I wanted to bring to your attention on that. Number one is I don't know if you know this or not. You probably do because you like read this. You like read things and watch YouTube videos and stuff. You're not actually following the product of NXT, but I'm not criticizing you for it. I'm just
That's
saying you
my way of
probably
following it because I just
probably
don't
do
have
know this.
time to watch it all.
Is that they have now, in addition to the Dusty Rhodes Classic, they have a Dusty Rhodes Women's Classic.
Hmm.
Um, and and they said that when they announced it, because you guys have been asking for this. Who the fuck was asking for it? Tag team women's wrestling is not really a thing. It's not a thing in NXT. They've never had um, I just don't understand. They don't even have women's tag teams there. So who the hell was asking for this?
It's
And I have literally skipped every single one of those matches when I've been watching NXT because I just am against the idea of it.
outside
So
of Glow, is tag team wrestling really even a thing? The only people that do it is WWE, and they treat their tag team division so horribly that it's not
right.
really even I mean, is there any straight up tag teams anymore in WWE, or are they all just thrown together teams?
In WWE itself,
Yeah. I mean, outside of
well,
NXT. In NXT, there's a few.
let's see, yeah, NXT and in the semifinals for NXT, actually MSK is one of the semifinalists for the
Oh, cool.
and if you don't know who MSK is, that's the former Rascals.
Yeah, yeah.
So so um, the other thing I wanted to tell you about that show coming up on Takeover is that the the challenger for Finn Balor for the heavyweight for the NXT Championship is actually your boy Pete Dunne.
Oh, cool.
So,
Is he still
um,
part of McAfee's stable?
well, McAfee hasn't been around in a while, but but Finn is, but I mean, but Dunne has still been hanging around with Birch and Lorcan.
Lorcan.
Yeah,
Who are the two that came over? Was it Trey and or was it Dez and Wentz?
it was Des and Wentz.
Were those were the two that we thought were going to be the two breakout stars of that, wasn't it? That we both enjoyed those two better than we did Trey?
Yes. Yep. I think they're both better storytellers than Trey is, whereas Trey is just more dynamic and athletic, really.
Right.
Um, yeah, and so they're so yeah. Trey has not announced what he's doing yet.
He's
Um,
back in Impact.
oh, is he?
Yeah, he came
Okay.
in one of the big crossover matches as the partner of Rich Swann.
Oh, well, that seems like a bad career move.
Yeah, I mean they're actually pushing him as a pretty big deal on Impact.
Yeah, but what does that really mean in Impact?
Exactly.
Yeah, and they're pushing MSK as a pretty big deal in NXT too. So
Which they are. They were a damn good tag team.
yeah, yeah, they're a lot of fun. And but they're against I'm trying to think, I can't remember who they're against. They're against Legado de Fantasma in the semifinals.
It means nothing to me.
So yeah. But speaking of Legado de Fantasma, the other thing I wanted to mention is that the leader of that. First of all, I don't understand that stable because none of them have any charisma. They're just big. I just feel like they're together because they're all Latino. but
Lucha House Party.
but uh, but Santos Escobar, who is the quote unquote NXT Cruiserweight champion, because the actual linear champion is Jordan Devlin. Um, he was talking about how he's the longest reigning champion in WWE. How some people, they have to take weeks off because they get their jaw broken, whereas he's always there. And some people they win the title and they can't even defend the title because they get injured in the match that they win the championship, which is of course referencing Karrion Kross.
Right.
And so Cross came out and he attacked all three of them. He destroyed Joaquin Phoenix and I can't think of the other guy's name on top of my head. But then he got in the ring with Escobar. Escobar's just staring at him, and um, Cross said something like, "You and I have been going around for a while now, it seems, and I'm just letting you know that I'm going to give you a little bit more time um, to think about it, which is, or I'm going to give you a little bit more time, which is both a blessing and a curse because it gives you more time to think about what's going to happen."
Right.
And then he goes, "Run away now, TikTok."
I love Karrion Kross.
Me too.
He's he's just I just love him. I loved him as Killer Cross. I love him as Karrion Kross. I just love him.
Yeah, the whole presentation with him and Scarlett is just fantastic,
Right.
and they're such nice people to boot. That I'm very happy for their success.
Well, yeah. I
So,
mean, you actually had interaction with Karrion.
well, both of
Had it?
them I did.
Oh,
Yeah,
did you? Okay.
yeah, yeah. I actually got to kind of like hug Scarlett, so that's pretty cool.
Oh
You
yeah.
know?
Yeah. I'm jealous now.
Yeah, you're always jealous.
Oh,
All right.
yeah, that happens. So new
All right,
beginning
so
quickly, I
then,
guess, because
yeah,
it's
so I'm
already.
beginning to rush him. Yeah. Do you have to get going?
No, no, but
Okay. Okay. I didn't know what your plan. I didn't know what your timeline was. So,
I
all right. All right. So we got Gabriel Kidd, Yua Uemura, and Yoda Suji. So anyway, in other words, the three young lions taking on Kanemaru, El Desperado, and Minoru Suzuki to
I feel
open up the
sorry
show
for the
on the
young
10th.
lions.
Yeah, and Desperado is in that match, so I mean, I think it's gonna be kind of fun because I do like Kanemaru and Desperado. I like all the young lions. I'm just not necessarily a big fan of Suzuki very often, but
I I'm just always a fan of Suzuki, and he's gonna hurt somebody. Those poor young lions.
and then the second match we got Master Wato taking on Bushi.
Yeah, I don't care.
Okay, Then we've got a 10-man tag with Chaos team of Yano, Yoshihashi, Hiroki Goto, Tomohiro Ishii, and Kazuchika Okada taking on the Bullet Club team of El Phantasmo, Taiji Ishimori, Yujiro Takahashi, Evil, and the returning Jay White.
Okay, I'm really looking forward to that. I know that Evil and Okada are kind of doing their little program, and now we got White against Ishii.
Yep.
Um, and anytime I can see El Phantasmo in a match, I'm excited.
Yeah, that should be fun. It really should. All right, and then we've got, and actually, aren't Goto, Ishii, and Hashi the 6-man champs?
I believe so, yeah.
I think so too. All right, and then we've got
Or is it Yano and not Ishii?
mm, I don't think it's Shano.
Okay.
Could be though. All right, now we've got no, because Yano, yeah, because I'm pretty sure Yano was on Okada's 6-man team.
Okay, yeah.
All right, so in the fourth match we have Tomoaki Hanma and Kota Ibushi taking on Tetsuya Naito and Sonata.
That's
Of
an
course, Sonata. Of course, Sonata
interesting
and
pairing.
Ibushi are facing each other the next night for the championship, and Naito and Hanma have kind of had a thing going lately too.
It's just weird seeing that combination with Hanma.
It is. Hanma is really getting quite a bit of a. I'm not sure if it's at least a little bit of a shove, if not a full out push in the last month or so.
You guys can have a Lunchable. Grab one for Arlo
And
too.
and then we in the semifinal of that show we've got the
No, just grab one. I'll make something else. Sorry.
IWGP Heavyweight Tag Team Champions of Tonga Loa and Tama Tonga, the Guerrillas of Destiny, being challenged by the former champions, Dangerous Tekkers.
Okay, yeah, I'm okay with that one.
Yeah, that should be fun. I really like their match at Wrestle Kingdom,
Yeah.
and this one being a semifinal match probably will be even better.
Yeah.
And then we've got for the Junior Heavyweight Championship, Hiromu Takahashi, who challenged Sho to challenge him for the. And so we've got this now. To me, this is a match that could be an easily a semifinal to Wrestle Kingdom. So
Yeah.
I'm very happy about this.
I'm just the whole show thing. I'm just concerned. I don't know where they're going. It just seems like. Didn't you like the one he brought you, Arlo? You didn't like the one he brought you? Didn't he bring you one in there? The hell is happening here? Oh, anyway, where was I? Oh yeah,
Seems like Sho.
is I don't know how to. I mean, he was House of Fire, went on face Shingo, then he kind of fell back, and now he just feels like he's treading water, even though he's getting a title shot. It's almost like
Uh,
he's just kind of treading water till Yo comes back, so they can go about their tag team again.
I think it's more just them. I mean, it's possible. I'm not completely discounting that, but I also think that it's just one of those things where this is the kind of thing that New Japan does a lot, where they'll heat somebody up and
Yeah,
then
Arlo
and then
should
they'll
only
get
have
them
one.
they'll heat somebody up and they'll give them a shot and they'll bring it back and then they're around and around it goes sometimes. So I do think it's kind of that situation where now this is his time to get a shot and now he'll get another shot down the line at another point.
No, hopefully, hopefully.
All right, but I do think it's gonna be an awesome match.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I think it'll be a great match. I don't, it just, I don't feel like they're really getting behind. I feel like they might have been getting behind him after the whole G1 and his match with Shingo and everything, and but then I just feel like he's treading water now.
Yeah, and like I said, they do that a lot in New Japan. So
Well,
I guess I'm not surprised by that.
but yeah, I'm really excited for Jay White to be back. I got that notification that he was back, and then went straight to that video, and of course we had to hear from Evil that I don't know what the hell he said. I have no
Yeah.
clue. I have no clue. But Jay White,
Well, we don't speak Japanese, so that's probably
right.
why.
Well, normally they put subtitles on there, so it was kind of confusing to me that they didn't this time. But the Jay White promo was just amazing, and like he was on his way out the door and he heard Jay, Jay. I loved his whole, just everything about his promo. I loved.
Yeah, it was great. It explained everything, and it makes a lot of sense that Ishii's the guy he's targeting because Ishii's the guy that beat him in the last night of the G1
Right.
blocks. So if that hadn't happened, then then he never has to worry about um, facing off against Ibushi's facing Naito all the way. So
Right.
a storyline, it makes perfect sense to me.
Yeah, I love it. And it's nice to see him in a better program than, I mean, his Sonata one really fell flat. Um, I I love Sonata as a wrestler. I think he's talented, extremely talented in the ring. I just I question his storytelling ability. Like I said, that grudge match between him and Evil, it felt like Evil was the only one in the grudge match.
Yeah.
His coming out and immediately challenging Coda made no sense to me. I mean, but then again, that's a lot like Kenta last year immediately challenging Naito. It made no sense.
Yeah, it makes sense to me. That's okay. I mean, Kenta's thing was like just to make sure, because to be a complete asshole and take the moment away from
Naito,
Naito.
right?
Yeah, and I guess if you think about it, if you saw this happen to your stablemate, wouldn't you not care that much about doing it to somebody else? You know, I
Yeah,
guess
it's
I don't
true.
know.
That's true.
All right, so night two. As we talked, you mentioned Sonata. So Sonata's taking on Ibushi in the main event of the tour, basically. So Ibushi challenging or Ibushi defending against Sonata in Ibushi's second defense, but really the first defense since Wrestle Kingdom.
Love, I think it's going to be a fantastic, just phenomenal match. I just worry about the way that that both their characters are portrayed.
Yeah, it's gonna be a phenomenal match, and but we both know who's winning this one.
Oh yeah,
There's
yeah,
there's absolutely no question.
that's a no-brainer.
So yeah, which does take a little bit of the drama away.
Right.
Um,
Well, hopefully there is drama after his performance against Evil. I'm not sure he can do it.
oh my God.
Oh,
There's still
just
capability of being drama in a match. I know you are. All right. But the opening match of that card, we've got Gabriel Kidd taking. We got again the three young lions. This time against other members of the Suzuki Gun, as they're against Doki, Zack Sabre Jr., and Taichi.
I don't like Doki. He just
No.
no, he's kind of X-Pac for me. Or I just don't even want him on my screen. He's got the whole X-Pac heat.
Well, to be fair, that's how we felt about Taichi for a long time too.
Good point. And
I
Taichi
mean,
developed into a hell of a wrestler.
he did. I mean, I'm not saying that Doki's going to because he certainly is not at this point. But
But
yeah,
at
I mean,
least
I'm not a big fan
Taichi,
of him too.
even though I hated him, he at least showed some charisma. The only thing I see about Doki is he can swing a pipe.
What's wrong with that?
I guess nothing. I don't know. Nothing
I don't know.
really.
I've used a pipe for things before.
Yeah, well. All right, what's next?
So I swing it to my lips, swing it down. Next up is we have the six-man team again of Kanemaru, Desperado, and Suzuki. This time taking on the Bullet Club team of Phantasmo, Ishimori, and Yujiro Takahashi.
Okay.
Well,
I don't know. I don't know how I feel about that. I got a couple guys on each side I really like, and then a couple guys that are just like, whatever.
yeah, I'm not sure how I feel about it either, because especially when that junior tag match wasn't as good as I wanted it to be.
No, no,
So,
it really wasn't.
oh, you did go back and watch that?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Now you know where I was coming from when we talked about it.
Yeah,
So,
I expect a better performance out of Phantasmo and Ishimori than what we got.
mhm,
You know,
yeah. Well, and
Desperado.
also
I don't.
Desperado too. Yeah.
I've never been a fan of Kanemaru, but yeah,
Yeah, with
I
Kanemaru,
expected better.
part of the reason for that, our feelings about Kanemaru is that we didn't see him in his prime.
Yeah,
You
it's
know,
true.
because he's apparently like one of the like greatest Noah junior heavyweights of all time.
Right.
So all right. So next up, another six-man tag. Oh my God. Master Wato,
I'm already
Sho,
out.
and Hanma versus Bushi, Takahashi, and Naito.
You said Master Wato. I'm already skipping.
Ah, okay.
I'm not a fan of his. I don't like his character. I don't like his move set. There's nothing that I'm a fan of. That might change someday down the line, but right now I'm just not a fan, so I'm not even going to bother watching it.
What you need to do, Jeff, is just picture him in the Sonic the Hedgehog movie you were talking about earlier, and then you'll start liking him.
No, I just won't. Curious though, I haven't heard a couple of names yet, and I'm just curious. But continue.
Okay. So Toru Yano and Kazuchika Okada taking on Dick Togo and Evil. Why did they just do Okada versus Evil?
Yeah, exactly. Let's stop with this. Just stop drawing it out and just do it already.
And then and guess what we have next, Jeff?
What?
For those of you who don't like six-man tags,
We have a six-man
it's another
tag,
six-man tag.
and I hope
Doki, Zack Sabre Jr. and Taichi versus Jado and the Girls of Destiny.
okay, yeah, we have three big time names missing from from these two shows. And it's weird because they were treated like shit at Wrestle Kingdom. They finally got two wins at their last New Beginning show, but they're not even anywhere on either one of these shows. And
Right.
that's the Empire.
Yep, you're
Where
right.
where the hell are they?
I don't know.
I just you have the best wrestler on the planet probably 2 years running, uh, who finally turns heel after a lifetime of being the popular babyface, who develops his own faction, and since the day he developed his own faction, they've just shit on him. It's like Osprey just doesn't even exist anymore. As far, are they trying to bury him and to build him back up? Why are they taking the best wrestler on the planet 2 years in a row and just burying him?
Um, well, I'm not sure that they're burying him, but at this point, I guess I definitely like feel what you're talking about as far as what happened at Wrestle Kingdom. But he did have that great match against um,
Yeah, that hardcore match.
that great hardcore match. I mean, I guess he's coming off of that, and they just probably weren't. And also remember that they're trying to do shorter cards too now because of COVID and everything. So, I guess this is a spot where not everybody's from the roster is needed for these two shows.
But when you've got two back-to-back nights, maybe we could have pulled one of the Bullet Club teams for the Empire.
That's true.
Why do the Young Lions get two straight shows? How come they couldn't have been pulled on one of those and had the Empire in there? There's spots to work the Empire in, but just to not even have them anywhere on either one of these shows is kind of rough.
Yeah, that's fair. Um, I don't know. That's a good question. But maybe they'll be on the Castle Attack shows coming up next month.
Hopefully. Hopefully. I just I'm not really high on what they're doing with Osprey, and I just it you like I said, the best wrestler in the world 2 years in a row. There was nobody better, and he comes out and does this heel turn, which people have been calling for years, and we finally get to see him as a heel, and then he goes into Wrestle Kingdom, the whole faction just lays an egg, and they do nothing leading up to the New Beginning show, and then yeah, they get a couple wins there. Um, in and in a standout match, he got a win, it would be in that hardcore match, which is not really something that you really picture NJPW doing, but he had a great performance, and now he's just not even on this show. I just,
Well, let's not jump the gun on it though. Let's see what happens at the Castle Attack and anniversary events and at New Japan Cup, which is the next really big thing coming up, and just see where he's at that point. Because I would be very surprised if he doesn't win either the New Japan Cup or the G1 this year.
yeah, I don't know. I just look at the way they treated Jay White, and how great it was and how it propelled him, and now he's one of the pillars. They have a chance to do that with, um, with Osprey now that Tanahashi's pretty much on his way out. It just, I just feel like they're missing big time with him.
Right. I get it. All right, so that's what we got coming up, and but I mean, I guess I'm just being more patient about it than you are.
Yeah, like I said, I think my most recent um, realization to something like this, and it was different with White because he was a heel in a face faction. He didn't turn on a face faction
Yeah,
to become a heel. But when you look at the way that they portrayed Jay White, giving him the win against Okada, making him the leader of Bullet Club, and just everything that they did after he turned on Okada was just nails, every part of it. And they have a chance to do something similar with Osprey. Not exactly the same, he formed his own faction. They could have made little tweaks here and there, but the fact that he lost to Okada at Wrestle Kingdom was a big ouch. And then, I haven't been impressed is all.
yeah, I get it. I mean, and you're right to not because I really kind of expected him to beat Okada at Wrestle Kingdom,
Right.
but I mean, I guess it just wasn't his time at that point,
Yeah,
you know.
true. True. But okay, guys, if you're listening on YouTube, please hit the like button, subscribe button, ring the notification bell, share with your friends. We actually are starting to do this 10 a.m. Central every Sunday morning now. It just seems to fit well with both our schedules and everything and gives us time to watch the shows we want to watch. So yeah, hit the like button, subscribe button, notification bell, and do us all solid by doing that. Also, check out our Patreon, patreon.com/Kingdom of Honor. Got some changes there, got it all nice and cleaned up again. You can listen to our archives all the way back to when we originally started working on these shows together, and some exclusive stuff as well. So,
And until next time, that's all we've got. We'll try to do better next time. Listen to all the other stuff here on the LOP Radio channel. That's all we've got. I just said that. This is Shane saying long days, pleasant nights, and Jeff saying
goodbye.